Experience Africa's heartbeat.
The African Pulse.
A weekly broadcast that takes you across Africa.
Different topics.
Culture.
Tech. Health.
Economy.
And even politics.
The African Pulse.
Only on Ifrikya FM.
Salam, marhaba, Dumilangi Africa, and welcome to your favorite podcast once in a week, the African Pulse, the program where we unpack the stories shaping our continent. I'm your host Emmanuel, and over the next few minutes we take a deep dive into Africa's defining moments of 2025, moments that may well shape policy, power, and partnerships for years to come. 2025 has been a year of summits, of declarations, and even strategic repositioning, from trade and energy to diplomacy and global influence. Africa, our dear continent, has not only been present, it has been negotiating its place. Today, we examine the most significant events that unfolded across the continent and what truly that means beyond official communiques. So joining me today to unpack this topic, as usual, I have familiar voices with me, starting to my right with Divir Nana Kwamina from Ghana. Welcome once more, Divir.
Thank you so much for having me today.
And right next to him, we have Widad Alawa from Algeria. Hello, Widad.
Thank you, Iman. Hello. Happy to be here again.
And happy to have you once more. And I am pleased to have once again Mzhora Al-Hyani from Algeria. Hello, Mzhora, and welcome once more to our show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. And now let's not take long and dive right into it with our first segment of the day, titled Summits, Declarations, and Africa's Strategic Year. So from Cairo to Algiers and from Addis Ababa to Johannesburg, 2025 was defined by high-level gatherings, but which of these moments truly mattered and why? This is what we're going to delve into. This is what we're going to discuss. So among events like the IITF 2025 or NAPEC or the G20 Summit or even the United Nations, let's say, Security Council, or even the African Union Peace and Security Council, or other important events that, let's say, unfolded this year, or maybe other events that I did not mention, which do you see as the most strategically important for Africa and what made it different? So I'm starting with you, Mzhora.
Okay, the major events that I see that they are so important. I will mention the African Union Summit. I think that we cannot start talking about events without mentioning the efforts of the African Union, because through that event we saw all the other events like EITF and the African Startup Conference and many other events. They were shaped by the plan of the African Union Summit from the beginning of the year. So we saw today the African continent like negotiating as a bloc. Like all the continent, all the countries together, they were sit all together and talking about the African vision made by African. So that were so important. I think that it's an important that it's the year like 2025. It started very good with the plan of the African Union, who gathered all the countries together, and they set like the plan for the rest of the year. And now we are at the end of this year, and all the result of the efforts that the African Union made and all the countries made together.
Indeed. Especially, as you said, now we are talking about something that, let's say, was not promoted strongly before, and that is Africa moving as one bloc, as one voice, and holding itself together and expressing itself, building itself. And this is something we did not promote enough in the previous year, which is something good. 2025 has been the year for the African voice to be amplified on international platforms and among African nations as well. And to see cooperation between these nations is also a good thing. Nana, what's your take in this?
Well, I think Mizra said a lot concerning the AU and
Yes.
IATF. So I'll just go on with. Well, we had two significant events. We had the NAPEC, which is the North African Mediterranean. I'm always bad with this. The North African and Mediterranean Energy and Hydrogen Exhibition Conference.
Yeah.
And then we had the G20. But I think you asked for importance. And, the G20, I feel like it's important because we had to have our voices heard. Although major players like the President of the United States was not present, I think a lot of things were discussed, and the theme for the year was solidarity, equality, and sustainability, which reflects our willingness for our push, because it's very necessary for inclusivity within the growth and economy that's shared by the West. We want a piece of that pie. Where some of the agendas that were discussed were disaster reliance, debt sustainability, and energy transition finance.
Indeed. And the G20 is for the first time is being held in Africa, and that was in South Africa.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the United States President Donald Trump was not present during this event, and let's say for obvious reasons, but let's say this event was a major success for Africa and for South Africa, to be precise, because the President Cyril Ramaphosa has put major effort in this, and the whole nation actually, and it gave the reflection of South Africa, the good one, to see a country actually pushing itself to hold cooperations and to be, let's say, the best image that it could give on Africa.
Yeah, I think I'm going to continue with the G20 summit. I think it was an African gate towards forming a strong global economic position based primarily on African needs, like without external interference or intervention. So it's free from all international standards, and I think this is why it matters very much, because it gave Africa its sovereignty on the global stage through developing finances, discussing climate transitions, and it repositioned Africa from a taker to a maker, I would say.
I wanted also to add one point.
Okay.
So because I am Algerian, I cannot talk about the major events of this year without mentioning the Algerian trade fair, Algerian product trade fair.
Yeah.
Algerian
production trade fair.
Algeria held a lot of events with brilliance, and now it's finishing with a high note, like Algerian production trade fair. It's so important because
of course, and to see the achievements compared to previous year, it's heartwarming for Algerians to see this, because to see a made in Algeria finally holding a spot on the global stage,
it's giving like example to other countries also to show like the how important to show our image and our products to other people, and
Indeed.
also it's important to see that we started like with not big things, but now we are producing like made in Algeria, made in other countries, and made in Africa. So it's our responsibility to work all together now to promote this image.
Of course, and by mentioning this, you just reminded me of something that maybe we did not talk about, we just passed through, and that is the IITF. The IITF was one of the biggest events to me, because it was not just a cultural event. Probably many people don't know this, but a lot of cooperation agreements were signed, and we're talking about billions of dollars here. We're talking about economy, and to see all of this unfolded here in Algiers at the time, well, it was very, very nice to see Africa moving together to make these cooperations, and to develop its own culture, to amplify its voice, and let's say solidify the identity of us as Africans. And it's really nice. So let's shift and talk about something else. During the recent events that happened for, let's say, the recent as in December, the last couple of weeks in December, there were like many events that unfolded continuously in Algiers, and as a result, many declarations were mentioned, and as declaration emerged, they were, let's say, put for adoption for the upcoming African Union General Session, the upcoming General Session, so the February one in 2026. So, these declarations were in different sectors. They were from energy, from security, from even economic cooperation. How do you see these declarations, and what do these declarations represent? Is it like real policy shifts, or are they more diplomatic signaling rather than like roadmap to be taken?
No, I think even just segueing from what Misra said and what the two of you spoke on, she's talking about products, right? The more production within Algeria, and then you're talking about the IATF, more deals being signed. I think it's no longer lip service. It's a reality that is being undertaken as at this point. Well, we are looking at Algeria, which have had, I think, for the past 2 years, an aim to diversify the economy. So empowering the young entrepreneur or existing businesses that are out here. For example, we're talking about the product conference Misra mentioned earlier on. It's a stage to display what Algeria is capable of and what they are producing. And then when we talk about the IATF, you did say, but in specific terms, it's been confirmed that there have been committed investment deals totaling around billion.
Yeah, billions. Yeah.
It feels surreal because I'm trying to mix the two.
Exactly, because it's big numbers this year, unlike the previous years.
Yeah, so we're looking at tangible deals. That's something physical. That's a result of the intention that was set at the beginning of the year. And so the declarations. Then I spoke on diversity and economic reform, and we've seen Algeria going through that. There's no longer a huge reliance on the hydrocarbon sector. Now we are Algeria is looking at boosting the non-hydrocarbon sectors, and so there's been a reform. There's been it's slow.
Slowly but surely we are advancing there.
There's real. You can see that there's real policy in these areas as well. So, and if you go back to Ghana, I think this year has been the year of intention. You mentioned the coups, you mentioned the situation within the AU. Well, not the AU itself, the ECOWAS.
Yes.
We are dealing with the coup d'etats, and now. Those were signaled, but now they have become reality. Several countries. So you look to declarations on the other side, and you look to declarations on this side. You can see that there's been workings, but basically, I think the shift this year has been self-governance and tuning each country. So far, you look at Ghana in itself. I think we're taking the podium for ECOWAS chairman this year, and I think we'll be shifting to the AU soon. But you see, there's a cohesion between, even if the execution is different, the ideas are different. I think so far we are all pushing to tangible results. You could look at the coup and say the coup d'etats were a bad idea, but people back Burkina Faso, for example, they celebrated. I'm not here to be political, but I say it to emphasize on the fact that this year there has been a shift. It's no longer about just lip service.
Yes, it's about action.
We've had the political signalings, but we also having intrinsic work being put into it, whether for good or bad.
Indeed. Zhora, what's your intake in this, though?
I think that, like Nana said, being at the table. That doesn't mean always shaping the agenda. So today Africa seeing all these events happening in Africa, no? Especially the G20, like see that the decision making are coming from the African continent is like a big step forward. It's not a simple thing to see like Africa now, like unlike what is happening in the past, just like being in the table just to participate. But now we are taking decisions, and the events are happening in our land, in Africa, and so today we are seeing this action, like Africans, especially the mindset. Like I feel like the Africans, like they understood a lot of things, and now we are moving forward with like a new vision, especially from young people, seeing how
We're becoming more self-aware.
Exactly. Seeing how young people are going into action, and they are taking the decisions and proposing things, like even the decision makers, we are seeing that they approve what is coming from young people, and like we are all moving together, and Africa, like
so now the youth are like an acknowledged power, instead
Yeah.
of just let's say a passive player as they used to be. Now like policymakers do acknowledge the youth role in advancing the future of the countries, whether it's in economy or other thing. We did.
Yeah, well, my answer would be hopefully real policy shifts. Sure, diplomacy matters, but today when we look at African people and their needs, it becomes crucial to put these declarations into action. So I want to talk about the declaration about the pharmaceutical local production that happened recently. Also, it is very necessary to have African sovereignty over medication and medical supplements, and I think it is actually happening with Algeria controlling, I think, over 70%
of the market.
Right now, Algeria has met 70% of their needs in pharmaceutical production.
Yeah, so I
they're
think
ripe for exportation. I think.
Yes, we are going for Algeria is going for exportation.
For sure, yeah.
Yes.
And the declaration of this year will also trigger other African nations to Algeria, let's say, paved the way for, or gave the opportunity for other African nations to start enhancing their local production as well.
Indeed, Algeria, in its declarations, not just the pharmaceutical production declaration, is indeed paving the way for many African nations in different fields. You mentioned the one in pharmaceutical production. I will mention the one about colonial crimes.
Colonial crimes, yeah.
Yes, the one about colonial crimes, for example, it held many things. It had a lot of principles to talk about, and to see that they want to go through a policy that would criminalize decolonization. For example, Algeria has taken the first step last Sunday with the National People's Assembly approving a law to criminalize the colonization and the colonial crimes during the French colonial rule in Algeria, and this is one step forward. So by adopting the Algiers Declaration, if other nations would take similar policies and the African Union would adopt these policies, so we can now move with this, to criminalize decolonization, and that is a good step, because let's not deny what colonization has done to Africa. Let's don't deny it. We embrace it, we acknowledge it, but we move forward. We shouldn't let that hold us back, but they have to take accountability for their action. This is not something that we should, I
think it's finally happening.
Yeah, indeed. It doesn't mean that we are stuck in our past.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
means that we understood what happened, and they should also know what they did to us is the result of what we are living actually now. So this is the most important part of that event about the
Colonial crimes,
Indeed.
Most of the times we say that it's a poor continent. It's a result of the colonization.
Exactly. Algeria is a rich continent. If we could actually
colonial language mostly.
It's not just about the language. We're not talking just about the language. We're talking about even taking our resources. Algeria is rich in resources. We have diamonds. We have golds. And yet, we are not the richest country in the world. And that's just absurd. We hold strong resources here in Africa. And not just the natural resources. Yes, the natural resources definitely take part. But even in agriculture, we have land. We have a vast
Yeah, we
land,
do.
but yet we are not considered among the richest continent, and only that because of colonization, the after effect of colonization, we are still not taking, let's say, the correct advantage of our resources. We are not using them correctly, and this is where what we should fix, us as Africans. So enough talk for one segment.
Yes.
Let's take a little music break. I hope you dears enjoyed this first segment where we discussed the most important events. We'll discuss even more in the second segment, so stay tuned and enjoy this little music.
I been there plan to marry you. No be holiday too. I already know I go wife you. It be like you go dey tender, you go dey tender, you go dey tender. If I start to dey hot, you go put temper. It be like you go get fire, you go get fire, you go get fire. If I start to dey go, you go bring fire. Anima be there. It dey hard to find. You know they see I'm for all.
Welcome back to our second segment of the day. Now we're going to talk about, the second segment is titled From Declarations to Direction, and this is something important. Is Africa setting the agenda? So here we're going to discuss what's beyond these declarations that we previously mentioned, beyond the headlines. The real question is whether 2025 marked a turning point, a year where Africa moved from participation to agenda setting. And the idea of using various 2025 declarations as a roadmap for the African Union's February 2026 session already gained a lot of attention. So how realistic is this, given the AU's political and institutional constraints?
I think that Africa today, we are not as we were in the past. And when we see all these events, we saw it. We were talking about the decolonization, and I think that today, when we see the result of this, that means that when we are all gathered in the event, it's not just to celebrate or to talk. It's just it's to shape our future, to be gathered all together, to it's an opportunity to see our brothers and sisters from other countries, because today the question is, who tells African story? It's always it's
about
always
the
told
telling.
about,
Yeah, it's always about the storytelling.
It's always others who talk about Africa, and we are always described at risk, a continent at risk, emerging continent. So it's important to gather all together and tell our story, our reality. We all
With our own voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The African realities, but said by Africans.
Yes, indeed.
When you talk about realism, we're talking about facts. The trust that it's going to happen, or the trust that it has happened, or it is happening. So we're talking about a pre-planned meeting by the AU every February. They've never missed the summit. And, so as things go, is the 29th session. It's always going to be between the 21st, the 22nd. And where does it happen? It's always the headquarters. Where's the headquarters?
Yeah, it's always
Addis Ababa. It's always Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So so when we talk about these things, we talk about the AU's commitment to at least having that conversation. Africa may be fractured, but we are not really fractured. All our experiences at the base of everything is the same. We've all had our countries colonized, maybe Ethiopia, who fought against the Italians, but we've all faced aggression from the West, right? So in a sense, we are led by our camaraderie to make Africa better. The AU has to work. It was established to represent African interest, and it's been happening for so long. We are now at the 39th session, and we had political constraints back then, and we do have political constraints as of now. At the end of the day, if the question is about realism, or it being realistic, it is realistic. the now is about time to represent our agendas, and I think it's been done so far. And we've spoken on declarations, we've spoken on political movements. I think the common thing that has been said, the intersection between all our conversations, is about intention this year. Well, there's intention next year. We're not stopping now. The conversation is still going to go on. She spoke on colonization, right? We all understand that. We also spoke on the fact that we are the richest continent in resources, but when it comes to monetary value, we're not. I think we as Africans, that's the commonality we share, and that commonality to see ourselves better. Is gonna make this thing. It's gonna make this year's session of the AU summit work, and that's all I have to say.
That's one thing. That's one way to see things. Indeed, with that.
Yeah, I think it is politically realistic, and they're definitely expected to adopt some of the declarations, resolutions, but they're also expected to shed light on this year's theme, which is, I guess, sustaining water availability or something like that. This is this year's theme,
Indeed, because that is an important topic. You know, as Africa is, some areas in Africa are already suffering drought, and that's because of the climate change and the after effect of La Nina. So yes.
Yeah, and, consider the constraints such as differences in national interests or lack of funding. It could be hard to adopt all of the declaration headlines, I would say.
Talking about the lack of funding, the African Development Bank recently gathered for the first time more than 11 billion US dollars for Africa to create a fund to fund the low-income countries, and this fund is funded by richer African countries.
Yeah,
for the first time, it's Africans helping Africans. Usually,
that's amazing.
That's usually amazing. The funding comes from abroad. Usually the funding comes from other entities, but this time it's us Africans holding hands together.
Yeah, so, this year is a big step.
Yes, it's a big step, but this is something I do support and I do acknowledge as a big step towards, let's say, towards a future where we help each other instead of waiting for, others to help us. So one thing that we definitely were going to talk about, yes, is the funding, but it's, let's say, policies are already underway and they are being taken seriously, and they are going to discuss more.
I think the top priority is to security, sectors of security and energy and sovereignty of Africa, as we were all discussing.
Of course, sovereignty is one of the most important topics, but security, yes, security is a risk that threatens threatens Africa in some regions, and to take hand in hand to fix this is definitely something Africa should talk about.
Yes, exactly. When it comes to security, the question is, who is making all this insecurity in Africa?
Yes.
It's because the external
external influence.
So it's not the result of it started from colonization. They created problem between us.
The external influence is indeed shaking the security, but Africa is resilient, always has been, always will be. And for example, Nana, you talked about Ethiopia, right? So Ethiopia and other countries, let's say, hosted or influenced major continental discussions this year, including, like you said, the AU, as it always unfolded there. Are we seeing a shift in where Africa's intellectual and diplomatic leadership is coming from?
Well, yeah. There's absolutely a shift. It's no longer rhetoric. It's beyond that. It's tangible influence, and I'm speaking on this based on the current developments we've seen throughout the year. So we've got we were talking about colonization. So my country, apparently, we've been pushing for reparations. People often laugh at this, but we not to bring back history or open up old wounds, but we do know that during the Holocaust, after the Holocaust, the Jews they receive reparations. So if the argument is it's in the past, I mean, why does the Zionist state still receive reparations? So if they can receive reparations, they said history is told by the victor, right?
Yeah.
And everyone looks at the atrocity, no politics, but I just want to just say this as an objective statement. We look at the Holocaust and we can conclude it was awful, right? But why do we ignore what King Leopold did to the people of the Congo? Those are mind-boggling atrocities. Even after his time, we as Africa, we face atrocities. Missouri said something. She said we are poor due to external influence, which happens till today. So the talk on reparations always sounds funny, but
it's not.
It is not. It is not. So we're looking at South Africa's the G20 being hosted in South Africa.
Yeah, for the first time.
So we're talking about a broader African representation, which shows that African leaders are just not participants, but they are seeking structural change to carve out a space for Africa's voice within world governance. So that is an actual shift. That is our political sphere shifting. So we're trying to go for long proof approaches, so we can improve our diplomatic efficiency and innovation. And so when we're talking about Pan-African intellectuals, books. There's more stories that reflect the African reality. It crosses through political and social forums, and the diaspora is getting more involved in Africa. They've always been involved with reparations, but now they are getting involved with representation. So when you see that happening, you see that the leaders see this and they know and understand that there's a broader need to involve ourselves. No longer do we wait to be called.
Yes. We do not need a signal for us to take action, because it's already there and it is what it is.
Yeah, so we were talking about Ethiopia and others, major events. Yes, continental discussions in 2025. Well, starting with Ethiopia hosting two major events this year, which is the climate conference, the second climate summit. Both of them draw thousands of delegates from governments, private sectors, development partners, and civil society. So the conference focused on climate finance, implementation of global commitment. Both gatherings aimed to position the continent as the decisive voice in shaping the global climate change, which is one of the biggest issues that the world is facing right now.
And Africa is paying the most for that climate change.
Even
though we contribute the least.
Yeah, we've talked about this in an episode.
Exactly, because we were talking about the COP30 at the time. This event was held before the COP30, and basically they came up with, let's say, certain decisions, and the delegation of Africa, when they went to COP30, they held to these decisions and voiced them out on the global stage during the COP30, which once again, as I was saying, the African voice is being implemented on the global stage.
So we are definitely witnessing a shift in African planning.
I think that the solution for the African problem is the African solution. And with all these events, there is also the leader from Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah.
Kwame Nkrumah,
said that Africa must unite, and it's only together that we can shape the future of our continent, the destiny, to shape the destiny and solve our problems. So today, when we are all gathered in these events, it's an opportunity for us to see the capacity and what our brother or our sister can offer to us. So the trust, because we talked last time also about trust.
Yes,
is one of
it is important. It's it's an important step.
So we are learning to trust our brothers in other countries. We have to move together, and let's always see these events as an opportunity to us, like to work together and to promote the image of Africa abroad, like to see that the African continent is no longer as it was before. Like together today, the African people are working always together, hand in hand, and we are facing our destiny, we are facing our problems. So today is like we have to treat with the others equally. With the West and the other continents.
Indeed, Africa is no longer a passive player. Africa now is taking action and is taking its own destiny in its own hand, and that's the good thing that Africa has been doing for the entire 2025 and hopefully for the years to come, to have a better future for our generation and the upcoming generation. So, we have reached the end of our podcast today. Any last word that you'd like to say to our audience, Ms. Zahra?
I will say that today, when we talk about development, it's a verb of action. Like we need to take action and to move all together.
Yes, indeed, we did.
Yeah, I think Africa should, like Ms. Zahra said, should get together and have one unified voice.
Nana, any last word?
The thing is, Africa, it's for us, so we need to do everything to preserve it. Regardless of where you go, you always be seen as a foreigner. But even here, I'm seen as a foreigner, but I know I'm within the grasp of Africa. I am within Africa, so I feel that embrace. So we need to preserve what is home. So that's what we are pushing for, to all our leaders and to all our listeners. At the end of the day, Africa is ours. That's all you're getting from me today.
And we also wish New Year. Wish
that
2026 will be.
Let's leave that for the very end. As we have discussed throughout the entire podcast, that 2025 was not just a year of meetings; it was more of a year of positioning, as Africa is indeed positioning itself as an active player on the global stage. Whether this event translates into coordinated African action will depend on the political will that hopefully would be positive, follow through, and the accountability. Of course, we should not forget that. So that brings us to the end of today's episode, The African Pulse. Thank you for joining me today, Nana, Widad, and Ms. Zahra. Join us please next time as we zoom out from events to power and ask who truly decides Africa's place in the world in our next episode. And a big thank you to the editor of this episode, Muad Baba Ahmed, and thank you, dear listeners, for sticking to the very end. As for now, wish you a happy new year.